Last time on The Journal of Rick, the Three Perils. Armstrong went to investigate a fire that erupted in Bingolf's field. He was led by a crone to a cave, where he ended up eavesdropping on a sorcerer by the name of Blue Blue. Blue Blue was hatching his scheme to destroy Totten and was just talking about his history with Rim. And now we can continue the exciting third part of The Journal of Rick, the Three Perils. The Couch presents The Journal of Rick, the Three Perils, a book that I wrote as a kid. Part 3. Welcome to the original and always sensational Couch. So I have a huge announcement to make. I am starring at a play at Frostburg University. It's called She Stoops to Conquer. I'm starring as Sir Charles, and I'll have more information for you all later, but I'm hoping to do something with that play. I don't know exactly what yet. If there's any of the actors that star in that play that are watching this, I would be glad to have you on the couch for a full-fledged interview, I mean, if you'd like. But anyways, I was going to go ahead and continue reading from The Journal of Rick, the Three Perils, a book that I wrote as a kid. And I should mention that the only reason I'm continuing to read from this book is that Mike Beneducci liked it on Facebook. So definitely, if you want to hear more from this story, you're going to have to like or comment or something. Let me know that you're interested. But anyways, we'll do at least one more reading. Chapter 2, Blue Blue's Plan. For a time, Rim kept the bracelet only as a trademark of their courage, but never put it on, thankfully. One day, Rim and Pinkola went hunting. They brought the bracelet with them, but only because they were afraid someone might steal it. They went hunting in the woods of the mysterious woods. It was there where I finally found them. You see, when I diminished, I came back in this cave. I fought. Rim and Pinkola. I got Pinkola to fall off a cliff and then killed Rim with my sword. For as everyone knows, when my sword enters into anyone's body, they automatically die. I took the bracelet from Rim and put it in my pocket. So Rim and Pinkola are dead then? Said a crone. Blue Blue didn't answer for a while, then finally he said, I'm afraid Pinkola the elf lived. He fell, but not to death. He fell in a pool of water, said Blue Blue. But now we have the bracelet of power, said Blue Blue, and with it my father, Marl the Blue, shall destroy the races of men, elves, Brins, lost landers, dwarves, witches, and wizards everywhere. We shall once more rule all, yelled Blue Blue. Cheers of happiness and wonder filled the air. It was then Armstrong knew he was trapped. If he went back to the bridge, the door would be blocked, and this way led to death from crones, Quisitins, or even worse, Blue Blue. Suddenly the ceiling of the crones opened up. A fiery mouth was there. A great wind blew. Many of the Quisitins were sucked into his mouth. It slowly spoke. A shrill, evil, hissing sound it made, almost like laughter. Intruders in the treasure room, it said. Slowly the ceiling closed back. The crones turned around, started yelling. Quickly, when the crones, at least 5, got to the door, Armstrong blasted it open, getting the crones to fall off the stairway, and started fighting with his axe and his sword. He knew he was outnumbered, but in the end he would have to, for if he hides, the crones would find him, and if he ran, it'd be no use, for, as you know, the door was blocked. After at least 2 crones were killed, Armstrong saw a chain hanging down from the ceiling. He jumped up and grabbed for it. He got it and started swinging. He was close to the ground now and a doorway. Many crones shot arrows at Armstrong. One of them hit Armstrong's chain. He landed on 2 feet and ran into the doorway. The crones and Quisitins were soon chasing after him. Blue Blue watched and then slowly went back in the tunnel he came from. Armstrong ran through the tunnel as quick as he could. He had lost the axe and the sword on the stairs. Now that he had the option of escape, he definitely took it. The chances of one man winning a war against 999 billion was 1 to 100. Luckily enough for him, crones and Quisitins are very slow. There were plenty of twists and turns in the tunnel. Finally he came to a large room with tall armor hiding weapons. Armstrong hid behind one. The crones and Quisitins soon came to the hall. They passed the armor and went through the 3rd tunnel. all but one. He stayed behind. He walked over to the armor Armstrong was hiding behind. His hand slowly reached for the armor. Armstrong knew he could kill the crone, but he may scream, getting all the others to come back. His arms was getting closer, but surprisingly he grabbed the axe the armor was holding, and said, "Perfect for the chop." He slowly then ran back to catch up with the other crones. Armstrong gasped. He had never been so scared in his life. He got out of his backpack of bread and took a nibble at the end of it. He tired. He had had a tough day. But then he thought, wait a minute, what if it's not night time? I mean, it could be only 5 o'clock, or it could be 12:59. He fell asleep with this question buzzing in his head. When he awoke, he took another nibble on the bread. He was going to save the chicken for later, and then went to the 3 tunnels. The third was the way the crones went, so that was crossed off. The first looked too dark, so he decided to take the second tunnel. As he went, he found there were thousands of twists and turns. Also a lot of choiciness to be made. Each way he looked, there was a 2nd or 10th or even 12th tunnel. Finally, he came to another hall. But it was really a hall. It was a prison. There were so many jails that they made a short trail, if you can see what I mean. He then heard voices, but they were too far to see what was making them. He walked slowly down the jail. In each cave there lay a skeleton. Sometimes a spear was in them, other times their heads were off. You'd think they'd at least clean it up a bit, thought Armstrong. It was then that Armstrong first saw a Lostlander. They were very strange creatures. They looked like humans, but many were a little taller. They didn't like killing. They usually only ate bread, fruit, vegetables, and dairy. They used shields for plates, knives to cut apples, and helmets for buckets. Of course, they were good fighters, but they usually just did it for games, not actually war. Their homes were made of stone instead of wood. They all looked at Armstrong with wondering eyes. "You're not a crone," said one of the Lostlanders. "I don't think so," said Armstrong. "Would you please help us, kind sir?" said another Lostlander. "How?" said Armstrong. "Open the door," was the answer. "How could I do that?" asked Armstrong. They all shrugged. Then he had an idea. Quickly he opened his backpack and got the chicken he had been saving. Then he got one of the long bones of the chicken and started to pick the lock. Let me stop here to say that chickens, in Totten, have very strong bones. They are almost unbreakable. Only a troll would have the power to break them. Let me also say that a lock in Totten is made differently from a lock from Earth, so they were usually easy to pick. In the end, Armstrong picked the lock and opened the cell. The Lostlanders thanked Armstrong for helping them out of the cell. They wished to give him gifts, but if they really had nothing to give him, though Armstrong had things to give them, he let them have some of his chicken. The Lostlanders had never ate meat before, so they didn't know how much they had missed out. Armstrong had no other food to give them, but they didn't seem to mind. Then they explained that they had been kidnapped. You see, the Lostlanders had lived in a city next to Rim's Tower in Gilo Mountain. It was called the Lostlanders' Castle. One day an army of crones came upon them. They did not fight them. The Lostlanders didn't fight, that is. Finally, they took them as prisoners. It was not because of a small piece of goodness inside their hearts, but for torture. As evil as crones are, they will cause great badness. Slow and painful deaths are much more fun to see than quick and lousy ones. Many of their people were still alive, about 100. And so Armstrong told them afterwards his story after they had told them this one. He told them about the fire in the woods, the fight against the trolls, and Blue's horrible plan. After Armstrong had finished his story, everyone was silent. Then at last a Lostlander, which looked both noble and fair, said, I, King Elendil, son of Minthral, name you Armstrong Venture, a noble and honorable member of the House of Fame for saving a tribe of 100 Lostlanders from the prisons of the crones, Quizzitins, and trolls of Blue's army. Instead of bowing or saying thank you, he said instead, You aren't safe yet. There are probably thousands of crones running down these tunnels, looking for me. We must move quickly. No use, really, said one of the Lostlanders. I mean of not running into them. They know the tunnels of Blue Blue's caves like the front of their heads, said the Lost Lander. We could, fight them, said Armstrong slowly. Armstrong knew they were going to say no, since non-fighting was like a law to them, but their answer surprised him. I suppose, said the Lost Lander. After all, so many have died. I suppose a little revenge doesn't hurt every now and then. Quickly, everyone, get ready. Quite sad, isn't it? Said Armstrong. We don't have any weapons or armors. Not so, said the Lost Lander. The crones have some armors and weapons in the storage room. I think there's enough of it for all of us, said he. How did you discover such treasure? Asked Armstrong. Just found it a couple of tunnels away, blushed the Lost Lander. They were quickly led to the discovery and were soon armed and ready for the war that might come. They all walked down the tunnel. They walked for hours. Finally, it looked like they might be free from the disgusting villains until they came to a giant hole. It was very tall, and there were cracks in the floor. But it wasn't a spooky place, and there wasn't any cobwebs. At both the right and left side of the chamber were stairs leading to a top, great for shooting arrows down. There were 3 doors. One was at the bottom of the stairs, the other was at the bottom of the other stairs, the way they had came. And the third was at the top part of the hall. It was the biggest and was about as tall as the hall itself. Just then, a whole troop of crones came screaming, but not for any battle call. A giant troll blasted through the doorway, grinning. Quickly, the Lost Landers shot their bows and arrows. Many hit their target. Now, Armstrong yelled. The Lost Landers took out their swords and started fighting. Armstrong dodged a sword and blasted his sword. He got it from the storage room. Then he met the leader of the crones. He unsheathed his sword, but Armstrong quickly protected himself with his shield, and did it again. And that is where we're going to leave off. Will Armstrong win his fight with the crone? Will the troll be defeated? We shall have to wait and see. Until next time, so long from Totten.